What's up, everybody? Episode number 142 of Tales from the Green Room podcast. It's been a minute. I haven't had a guest on in a while, and I'm stoked. This is my buddy Colton Place from the band Pacific Dub. We did some touring together several years ago. And what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you as well, man. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah,
to say the least.
You're not lying, man. I'm still in that weird, I don't necessarily see a lot of people yet. We haven't opened up all the way yet out here, so it's nice to see a familiar face.
I know, man. I know. That Zoom and StreamYard, all that stuff came in clutch, dude. FaceTime. We need that more than ever these days.
Yeah.
I do want to ask. I mean, it's obviously this is a tired ass question, and I hate that I'm asking, but like, how did you fare? Like, what did you guys do to get through the pandemic?
I like
to
it,
stay
man.
Afloat?
It's actually kind of relevant because just over the last month or two, just hanging out with friends, and now that we can be in person or whatever, we're getting all these whatever various apps and the time hops and the Instagram. This is what you posted a year ago today. And it's a lot of just like Zoom, or what was the one? There was like a gaming app, and it's all just like screenshots of us with like 6 or 7 other people, and everybody's just like pounding beers and like playing virtual beer pong and like this weird shit. Like the beginning of the pandemic was such like it was like such a balance between like, this is terrifying and I don't really know what the hell is going on, but like also we're just like stuck at home and just like hanging out with friends via virtual worlds. That was fucking wild. But what really helped out was the studio, to be honest. And I didn't have much in the way of new music ready to go for early 2021. We were kind of set for the latter part. And once like we kind of got into the groove and we realized like, work's gone, touring's gone, what are we gonna do to like stay sane? Me and my buddy who produced our whole last record just got together and we were like, let's just make a bunch of music and see how it goes. So that was like the silver lining of it all, was having time just to fuck around with various instruments that you wouldn't normally play with, and just being able to have that. So
yeah, the creativity certainly came into play. I mean, it was like, for me, it was like, all right, well, I just need to double down on this streaming thing, and try to make music. And it was a weird time too, because this was happening, and then you had everything with the George Floyd and the BLM stuff. And it was making it kind of weird to think about releasing music, because there was like such a crazy time in the country at that point. And I remember thinking like we had some songs coming out, or maybe the album was coming out, Message to the World, and I felt strange like promoting something when there was like such a weird thing happening.
Yeah, man. I totally get what you're saying, but like at the same time, especially that record, dude, that was rad, man. And that song in particular is something that I'll still jam probably like once a day. It's a good, nice. It's a good vibe. And it's a weird balancing act, right? Like you don't want to be diverting the conversation from what needs to be talked about. But at the same time, like if you spend all day, every day, and you don't at least have some kind of a mental break for a couple minutes to listen to a song or whatever it is, like that gets so hectic, man. And like it like I understand what you're saying, and it's a weird line that people had to navigate for sure. Not us, we didn't put anything out in 2020, so I didn't experience it personally, but like I definitely understand like where you're coming from. And I just feel like as long as for the most part, the people that I know that put out music in 2020, it was done in like a respectful way of not trying to, like I said, divert the conversation. So it's weird, man. You never know what the right move is until you do it, and hopefully you're not canceled in a week.
Yeah. I think for us, it was like, I knew that like I made like a statement on the stuff, and I just felt like I had to say something, and that made it a little easier, I guess, to go ahead and, because what it ultimately came down to was, and I did see some bands that were like, it just doesn't feel right to release music right now, and I understood where they were coming from, but my point of view was like, well, yo, I mean, we need this though. I think we need music more than ever.
100%
at this moment. We're locked in our homes. There's this, new civil rights movement happening. There's just a lot going on, and music is like the way to stay sane. And, we not only to listen to it, but as the creator to make the music, man, like that's what we do. It's like, you can't expect us to like stop doing that. And if you didn't put something out, I mean, that was, your choice or whatever. But for us, it was like, I just want to keep writing. I mean, why don't let's use the time and put out some new stuff? And I felt like that song in particular, Message to the World, was like kind of perfect for that moment, And so, yeah, being a musician at that time was super weird.
But you're right, man. You're right. Like, that's what people need. People need the music. And I will say, like, I say we didn't put anything out. That wasn't because of some conscious decision that I made. I had nothing ready at that point in time. Yeah. So it was like, and it was, it was a time to kind of look also, like, I know for the most part, our circles are pretty culturally diverse, especially being in the music scene. And when I'm not on tour, it's at two different music venues, and it runs the gambit of, one of them's a casino, so it's like a bunch of legacy acts and like crazy weird shit, and then the other one's just 1,000 cap theater close to my house in Orange County. And between those two venues, like, you kind of just get the gambit of all people, right? And our circles are generally diverse enough that, like, when something like this happens, that's so culture shifting, and you'd like to think that, like, what happened and what is currently still happening, and like, we're still having to focus on these issues, but you kind of look to those people in your lives who it's like, hey man, like, I am ignorant in this. And you kind of look to the people, and I have somebody, our band manager, somebody very close to me who's African American, and he was somebody that I was constantly and still constantly have conversations with and just say, like, yo man, like, point me in the right direction if I'm fucking up. Like, call out your boy. Like, we're close enough that like, if there's something that needs to be said, that I have that guiding light a little bit in my life. So, like, shouts out to Turtle, and like, just being able to have genuine conversations with him, and that was something that really, like, still is helping out with this situation, and like, knowing when to say something and knowing when to shut the hell up because I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And just knowing that, like, we can be allies of everyone that's doing positive shit in the world, and we don't necessarily always have to be, screaming it from the mountaintops, but also we don't have to be recluse and holed up in our houses and not saying anything. There's a good fine line. And I feel like, especially with, you guys it's not like you guys were coming out with like party tracks, and like, you didn't put out Cerveza in 2020, dude.
Yeah. I know. And that's the thing. It was like, I felt like, I think everybody loves a good party song, man. And like, we need them, and yeah, there's a couple on that record, but for the most part, it was at that time it just felt right. It's like this message to the world. Like, this is sort of like, I think people could use some lyrics like this right now.
Truly.
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing to do is just like step in. If there's somebody in your group that's like saying something dumb or doing something dumb, you fucking step in and you're just like, bro, shut up.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Stop. You know what I mean? I've definitely had a couple people where we'll be in conversation. I'm like, well, wait a second, but you don't understand. It's about this and this and this, and I think that's the best you can do, is just try to educate people as you're educating yourself, like, educate others when the time comes,
100%, dude. And like, those are the kind of people you want to have in your circles, right? Like, it's that constant, that cliche of like, if you surround yourself with a bunch of people that think like you just live in an echo chamber, and
Yeah.
that could be as detrimental, you know, or more detrimental than maybe vice versa, where like you have people maybe that don't think the same way as you, but there's a line, you know, like there's a line where, you know, like, hey, if somebody that I know is crossing this line constantly and we have conversations and you know, whatever, it's not getting through to them, or it's not, you know, I'm not able to properly communicate, like, you know what line you don't want people to cross in your life. And it's pretty easy to be like, hey bro, like either you got to at least like try to see my point of view or fuck off, I guess.
Yeah. Stop being a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's that simple. If you have friends that you can't tell to stop being a fucking idiot, they're probably not that good of friends.
Seriously, man. Yeah. Seriously. So you guys been putting out some tunes over the last like what 6 months or so.
Yeah,
like
we
that?
started like right at the drop of 2021. I think it was like the last weekend in January we put out our first single, and we put out a single like every, I want to say like 4 to 8 weeks since then, I think. So
Cool.
we have 4 going now, and then we just announced last week the record on this Friday, actually, the 26th. So, or 25th, rather.
25th. Yeah. This Friday. That's great, man. How many tracks on the record?
We got 11, so a good full length, and I wanted to. It's kind of like that weird. It's like I'm still writing music. I'm still recording music. I'm going to be in the studio in 4 hours from now, just tracking more shit. And you just kind of at some point we had to draw the line, and we talked about what do we want to do, like a full length or split it up and have 2 6 or 7 song EPs and put them both out in 1 year, like, you know, just trying to do something a little bit different. But at some point I just kind of decided like we hadn't put out a full length record since 2018, so it was time. And I like, you know, it's been pretty rad putting out the singles and seeing the response, so hopefully people like the record.
Yeah, I noticed. I definitely liked one of the videos. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the one you were like, basically you traveling, being on the road and leaving your girl at home.
Yeah,
and coming back to her and all that. I thought the video was really cool, and I don't know if it's the subject matter or it's just the vibe of the song. Like it just sounds like the songs that I've heard so far. It just sounds a little more mature.
Thank you, man.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. We kind of I talked to the producer. So our producer Joey that did this whole record with me. He's a very, very good friend, and I kind of talked to him about like what the goal was for this record, right? And we've had fun. Like a big influence on us was the Dirty Heads back in the day, and like, you know, because of where we are, like that was one of the first bands I ever heard in the scene. So we always wanted to try and dabble in the hip hop reggae side of things, and you know, and then we kind of came up in this scene, and I like attribute a lot of our sound from early on up until now, as much as like I can respect and do listen to like true roots reggae, and we enjoy elements of that as well, and we like to dabble with that. What I can really say is I was in this weird like backwards where I found out about Slightly Stupid and Dirty Heads and Revolution and you guys and Iration, like, and then that led me to roots reggae, right? So like it's been fun to try to like find our sound, and through the years of how writing with a band changes and like maybe the dynamics change or whatever. I feel like this record, Guide You Home, is a record we put out in 2018. And that was with a different producer, somebody who still works with us closely, and my friend Nathan. But I was just kind of like dipping my toes in at that point and not working with the person who had done literally all of our music up until that point. So this is like the evolution of me kind of finding my style and something that works for me, and then going to a producer and being like, hey, like this is my goal. This is what we want to do. And him being able to implement and execute that, and being like not necessarily an outside voice, but somebody who knows the genre pretty intimately, but also like his production is not reggae. Like I'm pretty much the only one that he's working with in this capacity of quote unquote reggae rock artist. So like he brought so much value to this project as well. And I'm just really grateful to have good people to work with, and that always helps, you know.
That's cool. That's a good dynamic. So you get a guy that's not really from the world and like producing, your ideas. So he's going to bring like a kind of a more fresh approach to it, I guess. Something
100%.
a little bit different. Yeah, I totally get that, man. That's a good way to go sometimes. And I'm glad that the songs are turning out, the way you'd hoped, if not better. Yeah, working with a producer is interesting. It's like you have an idea of somebody you want to work with, and ultimately, I mean, it could go one way or the other.
100%.
Yeah, and I've been finding myself like it's hard for me to work with producers now, just because like I know what I'm doing now, like in Pro Tools, and I know how to make the sounds I want to make. And so like when I have somebody else, mix the record, or if I have somebody else kind of weigh in, it's harder for me to deal with that, because like I know what I want and I could just do it myself. So I don't, you know what I mean? So
100%, man. I respect what you do so much, because it's something that truthfully, I'm just at this point not good enough to do, and fucking terrified to do. You have like this ultimate control over your product, and I know that like also the guys in the band are there and you're listening to them as well. So I'm not saying for either of us that this is, it's we're not solo artists here. Like we're constantly bouncing ideas off of other people, but I feel like in a similar way, like both of us kind of like are, you're going to be there for the whole process. You're going to be there from drums to vocals, everything in between. You're mixing it. Are you mastering all of your stuff on your own as well?
To be honest, dude, I've been using Lander for a couple of years now.
Nice.
And I don't know. It's easy and it sounds great.
Dude,
and
your shit sounds fucking awesome. And
Thanks.
Yeah, my guys and I, like, we've been listening to like all, you got to check out everything new in the scene. And it's cool to hear the whole scene, honestly, in general, progress from when we first started touring in 2010. And there was 4 bands that were just doing huge shit, and everybody else.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and it's cool to see like how big the scene has gotten, and like how much influence bands and people who work behind the scenes in our scene. Anyways, that's my ADD brain going away, but no, like, yeah, man, like what you do is something that is so daunting to me. I like being able to, when I'm doing anything at my house with my little demo rig, it's like I'm getting ideas down. I'm not sitting here. I find myself like agonizing over an EQ for like 10 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're going to send this to some dude who, like, no matter what you do is going to be able to do worlds better, right? And like, I feel like I benefit from that like separation a little bit, of being able to go like, I'm going from my house, I'm going to the studio today. I'm spending my day with my buddy. I'm still having a great time. It's still fun. But there's like a little bit of separation, whereas like when I do have like, when I'm doing stuff at my house, I get lost, man. Like, and I just get lost, and you'd be like, oh my God, 6 hours just passed. And it's like this weird mental hurdle where it's like, I didn't do fucking anything cool today. Like, you have those days where you're like, I'm writing shit and maybe it's not that dope. And you just kind of have to deal with that, right? And that's so... Yeah. Like I'm so impressed by people like you and like Scott with Stick, and like the people who are just like, dude, you have ultimate control. And I know you're probably sitting there sometimes just being like, this is not what I wanted. And whether you are able to step away and be like, I'll come back to this later, or like with me, I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking do this until it's right, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, no, I get in a situation where like I'll obsess over a track, like this new track, Middle Finger, for example. Like I obsess over it, and just everything, and that's what's great about doing it at home, is because I can try sounds, and I can sit there and do a guitar thing, 70 times, and there's not somebody over here waiting for me to get done, and I'm not, paying per hour and things like that.
Yeah.
And I can really get it and massage it the way that I want. And I can do a mix, and I can listen to it for weeks and then tweak things and get it just the way I want it. And that's what I love. And like when I have to give it to somebody else to mix, then it feels like extra work because I have to go and explain things or like print my effects, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I like having that control, and I'm definitely not above like giving it away and letting someone else handle it. Live Through This, for example, came out back in March. I didn't mix that. I just we tracked some of it at Pepper Studio in Redondo back in like 2019, and then finally finished it earlier this year and did the rest of it here. And then I sent off the tracks to Camera Webb, and he did a great job. But I don't know. There's certain sounds where I just feel like I'm just so connected to them. It's like I want to do this because I know the sounds that I want to make. But I didn't feel comfortable doing any of that. I mean, I've been learning probably like legit probably since like 2013, 2014 when I quit my job. I was waiting tables, and I just knuckled down and just like learned. I started watching videos and paying for tutorials and things and buying plugins I shouldn't have bought, you know, stuff like that because you get excited. and I didn't feel comfortable doing anything until that first single, This Chick Is Whack, in 2018. And I did it. I thought it was cool. Now that I listen to it, I'm like, shit, I should have waited. I should have let somebody else mix that. But I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. And by the time the pandemic was rolling around, you know, we were getting this record finished, and it was like just in time. And then so now we were able to just take the rest of the year and just record on our own, like release stuff. Like it was like just in time, you know?
That's just the perfection of like the universe was like, this is what you're going to be from now on. and
yeah,
like to your testament, you put in the hours and it shows, man. Like your production is super pro. And that's like another great thing about music is that there's a million ways to do it, you know, and what works for somebody maybe doesn't work for somebody else. And you just have to find your groove. And from talking to you, it sounds like you've really done that. And like, that's kind of what I feel with this record that we're putting out. It's a groove that I've been able to find, and because of the people that are around us and the band, and we're this beautiful age of technology where we can send stuff back and forth, and as much as you want to be in the room and everybody mic'd up at one time and tracking, like, you know, like it's so hard to have. We don't really have the budget to do. I guess we could fly out and hang out with Ted for a few weeks and do that out there. But, you know, like that's just so far away. And to be able to afford a studio like that, it's cool to be able to, hey, here's my Logic session, and send it to our guitarist Hunter. And hey, man, like track a couple solos, you know, throw some guitar ideas in here, and let me bounce these guitar ideas off of you. And like just being able to utilize everybody's strengths a little bit is a cool thing. And then being able to jump in with a producer and have a studio like you're talking about where we're not paying top dollar to go somewhere. The studio that I know where Pepper Studio is. I go to Redondo. It's like a 40-minute drive from where I live. And the studio that I work out of is literally like 2 doors down on that street in Redondo Beach.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I don't even think they know that. We were going to try and rehearse at their studio this week, but we found a different place. But so I'm constantly like walking my dog up and down by Kona Inn, and like, hey, I think I know those guys over there. So it's just like, that's the greatest thing about 2021 or this new age of music. And people say the term like bedroom producer as almost like a negative connotation. And it's like, dude, that's the coolest shit ever, man. I don't have to pay somebody $1,000 a day to track drums and mix my fucking vocals and make shit sound cool. Like, dope.
Anybody that's saying that negatively is a fucking dinosaur.
Exactly.
And it's just pissed off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Somebody lost a job.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like what? Billie Eilish and her brother made those records in their bedroom with Logic.
Yeah.
Like they show you how they did it.
That's
if you
cool.
Watch some of that stuff.
They're dope to watch.
It's fucking cool as shit, man. It's like, it just shows you where we're at, man. We're, you know, the technology has advanced so much, and it's gotten so inexpensive, relatively.
Man.
It's definitely still an expensive hobby, or whatever you want to call a hobby or a career. But
there's a fine line between those two, I feel.
Sure there is. Yeah, there is. But dude, it's like you can do it at home. It's as long as you know what you're doing. And I left it to the pros for years. You know, I was like, I'm not ready for this, you know, until one day I felt comfortable enough and I had a breakthrough in like how I do my kick and my snare. And I was like, because if I can't get the drums to sound right, the whole thing is going to fall apart.
Dude,
you know?
the snare drum is the bane of my existence.
It depends on what snare you're playing. It depends on the player. It depends on, you know, how it's tuned, the mics you're using, the placement, like the, you know, if you're using way too much compression or EQ, there's so much, you know, but it's all about just trying it and doing it over and over again, you know. I enjoy producing from home. And my like ultimate plan is like I'm trying to get that John Feldman money, you know, like I'm trying to get that, like I want to have like a studio at the house, away from the house, and
your
just
underground
just
bunker.
bring in, just bring in dope ass artists every week and just turn out hits.
Well, you're
know,
already kind of doing that though, right? Like you and Ted, I see like all this stuff that comes out, and like you guys have your fingerprints on so much. You're like. This is not to discredit anybody else out there or whatever, but like I feel like you guys are like helping to mold this like Midwest, East Coast kind of like southern, southeastern like cool sound. And like I just hear about some of the people that you guys are working with, or somebody puts something out and it's like, and then I see you post it and I'm like, oh shit, he produced that. And it's just like you guys are, I feel like, doing so much for that scene out there. And like that's, I love seeing that, because I fucking love both of you guys so much. Like you guys have put us on in a lot of ways, and I think Pacifier is the band that we've toured with more than anyone else in the scene at this point, like consecutive days or whatever. And like you guys also like have been hooking us up with shows. I remember playing a show with you guys in Orange County in like fucking 2010 or something at OC Tavern in San Clemente.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was the first time I met you guys, and you know, my girlfriend and I were like listening to fucking old Ballyhoo. Like it was like, oh my God, we're playing with these guys. And that was such a vibe for like the first few years of our career. It's like, damn, I don't even want to look back and think of how much of a fucking punisher we were, because we were just stoked to be there, man. Like, but yeah, dude, you guys, it does show. Punishers. Like we're all punishers in our own way
at some point.
But yeah, man, anyways, that is it. It does show like you've been doing a lot of cool shit already, so I can't wait to see what you know this looks like in 5 years for you and doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm stoked on it, and it's just I'm trying to be like I put the content out there, make the videos, and I work with bands and stuff. I'm trying to show that like this shit's possible, you know. And I'm doing it from a basement, you know, in a town I grew up 10 minutes from. I live in this town now. It's like. You don't have to be in LA. You don't have to be in New York. You know, you can do this wherever, as long as you have the drive, and you get excited about working on something. You know, if you're not getting excited, then it's probably not something you should be doing. But for me, I love this shit, and it's just fun. You know, so let's take people back. What you started touring in 2010? When did you guys? When did you guys actually like form the band?
So the band kind of was like an evolution of just me and so our original guitarist Bryce. We met, our families met. It's like a fucking weird. Like I'm not making any of this up, I promise. But like our families met camping like at the beach and kind of like fell in love a little bit. And like we grew up like about 2.5 hours away from each other. But since the time I was like 15. We were close, and we would always write music together. Never recorded any of it. And then once I got my driver's license and I could drive to Orange County, we tracked "Dreaming" was our first song ever. Put it on MySpace, I think in 2009, and that was like that was the beginning. We didn't have a drummer, we didn't have a bassist, and like we were able to find people, just friends of friends, like whatever. I think our original bassist and Ryan and Bryce at one point almost fought at a house party because of some nefarious dealings with somebody's girlfriend. And then it was like fist cocked. Oh shit, you play bass? I'm looking for a bassist in my band kind of shit. Like just dumb 16, 17-year-old kid shit. And then
incredible.
And then Ryan knew Dave from musicianship at school. And just like, I got this really dope drummer. Also happens to have the voice of a fucking angel, and it's just like So we started, I think it was around 2008, 2009 was when we first started actually recording music. And then Iration took us on Time Bomb Tour, was our first tour ever in 2010. And then from there, it's kind of just like, you're trying to build the local following so that when the national acts come through, hey, I can jump on a show, open up for these guys. And like, you know, we were also so fucking lucky to be out here where like this kind of like new concept was really like taking root. And I know like over the country there, you know, Florida was like a hotbed. You guys were up in Maryland and like all over the place, like there was this dope new genre kind of like budding, you know, off of these Sublimes and the Slightly Stupids and the Peppers. And like, so like we got really lucky to say that we were in Southern California where like everybody knew people were listening to this music kind of, you know. So the culture kind of like put its fingerprints on it, if you will. And yeah, man, it was just, we were really lucky to be out here and get picked up when we did on that tour with Iration. And it was us, Iration, and Through the Roots. And then you go on tour with some of these bands that are maybe in your age range, maybe a little older. And like Through the Roots is somebody that those dudes, Evan and those guys, like I constantly have to sing their praises because they were the ones in the beginning that like, they had been around for like a year or two before us. And we played shows with them. And I remember us going back to a hotel or like whatever, not a hotel at that point, somebody's fucking floor in their basement. And
some house.
Yeah. And we're just like, dude, we need to practice more. Like, these guys are way fucking better than us. Like, let's go home. Like, let's get in the fucking studio. And like, we're scrounging up money, trying to go pay to play like hourly rate studios. And just like, dude, we need to be better. Let's play these songs like 20 times, man, because we fucking suck.
I love that. I love that because, yeah, we used to have our first tour, we went out with this band called Rude Buddha and another band called 33 West. It was like these ska punk bands, and it was rad. And we were having the blast. We were out for like we were out for like 6 weeks or something, 8 weeks, and it was our first tour in 2006, and the van caught on fire, and like we slept on floors, and it was terrible. But we would do this thing where we would like have like energy contests. So we're like, we would see what band could go harder. Like what band could like rip on stage the hardest. Just get it, you know? And,
I love that.
That just made it so fun. You know, it's like this, you know, healthy competition. And it just made everybody have a better time, I think. And that was one of the things. It's like, fuck, we got to tighten up.
Yeah.
You know, like these guys sound great. Like we gotta tighten up.
100%.
So I love hearing you say that.
Dude, it's a healthy thing. You know, like you want to have that motivation and that drive. And like, it's cool to have that. And it's cool to be able to say that like, we're friends with the guys that like, you know, like there's always going to be healthy competition. There's bands that all kind of started around the same time, and you see these guys doing shit, and maybe you're just like, everybody wants to be bigger. The biggest band in the scene wants to be bigger, right? So like, it's not unique to bands starting out, but I think that's such a crucial component for bands to have. And like, you got to have, I know every fucking band that I know has the one dude. It's not, sometimes it's a drummer, sometimes it's a guitarist, sometimes it's a singer. Everybody has that one dude that's like the mom. Or, you know, like the band, hey, this is the schedule. Why are you guys showing up late? What the fuck is going on? Like, you know, and like everybody has that one. And like, we're lucky to have those people because those are the ones that are like kind of helping to drive the ship. But when everybody has like a like-minded attitude of like, this is super fun, but also like, I want to do this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to like play covers in like the bar down the street. Like I want to play my music if I'm lucky enough to do that. Not to say that covers in the bar down the street. I've had a lot of good fun with those bands. So like, yeah, but like sure. I want to do stuff, and like if you can surround yourself with people who want to do the same thing, then like it's only going to help you. And maybe it doesn't work, and maybe in 10 years I'm selling real estate in Orange County or something. You know, like there's no guarantees in life ever, but like having that like healthy competition, or like just it's a friendly kind of, you like to see everybody succeed, but also sometimes you're like, we're better than that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. It's probably a lot of that actually. You're right. I think like, you know, I said in my first episode of this podcast a few years ago that You know, you got to have people in the band that are thinking the same. They want the same thing. They want it as bad as you do. Because if you have one guy or two guys that aren't feeling it and just kind of like whatever, they're dragging their ass, it's going to drag the band down, man. And it's like you got to be, everybody's got to be doing their part, and it just makes such a difference. Everybody should be enjoying it. And you know, we've gone through some personnel changes over the years, and our previous bass player JR, he'd you know, been on tour with us for 10 years, and he decided he didn't want to do it anymore, you know, and he was just over it. And it was like, oh, that sucks. He's a sick bass player, you know. But at the same time, I'm not going to beg him to stay because
100%.
he wants to leave. And I'm like, that would just suck for everybody. You know, if we were like, you got to stay. He did stay on for like another month or two just to kind of finish out the shows that we had to make the transition and find a bass player and all that. So it was very nice of him. Thank you, JR, for that.
I love JR.
But, you know, and we remain friends. I just saw him a couple days ago at my daughter's birthday party. So it's just like, yeah, get people that want to be involved and are excited, you know, to do it. It's so important.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. And we've gone through a couple member changes as well. Like Dave, our drummer is I guess him and I are quote unquote the only original members in the band. And I feel the same way as you, you know, like I don't harbor hatred for anybody that I played with. It's quite the opposite. I'm so blessed, you know, like if Bryce and I didn't meet, this band would have never started, and he wouldn't have introduced me to this culture. I grew up in like the Santa Barbara County, a little bit north of Santa Barbara, and it was a small town. I love going back there now as like a young kid growing up, going through high school. I was just dying to get somewhere like Orange County where there was all these people and everybody was so supportive, and it was like everybody's got a project, right? So like I'm so blessed to like have had this, and specifically with like our bassist Ryan, who used to tour when we first started playing shows with you guys and stuff. Him and I are better friends than we've ever been. He's my best friend. Like he's gonna be in my wedding in January. Like his wife and my fiance are super close because of the relationship that we had. And like sometimes it's not for certain people, you know. Sometimes people want to do other shit, and like you have to be able to respect that. And as much as in the moment it's like hard to watch your brothers walk away, you know, it's hard to be like, I wish this was more fulfilling for you, or I wish I could have done something different. And like we're all learning, and that's the other thing, we start so young. You don't know how to cultivate relationships when they're that young, so it's kind of learning shit on the fly, right? Like I can fully say like I was probably one of the biggest offenders of not communicating properly, and like you get like emotional. This is like something you're pouring your fucking heart into, right? Like why can't we all like view this the same? But it's just like different people do different shit, and like if it was a band full of people like me, it would be a fucking nightmare, man. We would all be fighting all the time, and every single one of us would always think we're right. So you have to find that balance. Like it's such a weird balance. Yeah. Like everybody has to be like-minded. Everybody has to want to put in the work. But at the same time, it's got to mesh. It's like a fucking basketball team or something, right? Like you can tell if the chemistry is off. And so like, you know, just to be lucky enough to have guys. And I feel like, I don't even think I've met Nick, your new bassist. I don't think I've met him yet. I think I met him when he was playing in a different band in Florida. But I've watched, and you guys fucking 2020, you guys were the kings of the live stream. Like consistency and production just unmatched from like everyone. I guess like Dirty Heads were doing their pretty consistently too on the acoustic front. But dude, I just liked watching yours, and the lights, whoever you were working with that was putting on that production was badass. And watching Nick just like rock out. Like, this is fucking Ballyhoo, man. Like, it was cool. And I love JR. Thanks, we only toured with you guys when JR was there. But, you know.
No, we're shout out to Hartford Sound. We were lucky to have that. I say it every chance I get. Like, when people talk about the live streams, we're so lucky to have them. They're 20 minutes from my house, and they're a production company that does events normally. And when things went south, they pivoted immediately, and within a week I think they had their first band doing a stream. And I think we were their second stream back in March of 2020. But yeah, within 2 weeks, we were doing it, and they just put all their gear together, and they have lights, and they got the LED walls, and the sound, they got everything. And it was just, when we went live, I remember people going like, somebody saying, "Oh, we can't see them." Like somebody was in the chat, like, "Oh, we can't see them," because it was like all the lights were out. And 2 seconds later, boom, all the lights come on, and it's like, it looks like we're on like SNL or Fallon or something.
It was pro, man.
It was pro as fuck. And like that night and the next day, my phone is blowing up, just like, all the other bands need to quit. It's just like, I was like, fuck yeah, it just felt like, yes, people are paying attention, and we did it,
It was very sick.
So, yeah, it was. I'm very proud of how they turned out, and it's honestly, man, and you didn't have to have that. I think it was important that if you did anything at all, just a live stream on your phone with an acoustic guitar is enough, because I feel like you need to be engaging with your audience. When you get, I've been trying to think about a way to say this properly to make sense, but like, it's like, I'm working on my brevity, trying anyway.
Dude, I feel that so hard.
You just talk in circles and just beat a dead horse.
It makes sense in your brain.
Yeah. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm trying to be more succinct about it. But like, so, when you go on tour and you're putting out music, over the years, this is what you do. People, you make a record, you go on tour, people buy the tickets, they come to the thing, they buy t-shirts, and then it's just this thing that you do over and over again every year. And suddenly, let's pump the brakes, COVID, shut everything down. Now you have to put some real effort into it. And I'm not saying that touring is not super I'm not saying that touring is super easy. It's not hard, anything like that. It's very hard. It's exhausting to go on tour. There's something to that, but it takes a lot to stay on the road, and it's very expensive. But when it comes to all of a sudden I can't do shows, it all of a sudden that becomes very easy. Like, wow, we could just be doing shows, and people just automatically show up, and they buy tickets and all that. This is like, now I got to put some effort into it. I got to get my ass up off the couch. I've been eating pizza for a month, sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And it's like, now I got to get up. I got to get my band guys together. We got to rehearse, put a show together, and then go do this thing and play in front of cameras.
Yep. The energy's all weird, and you got
energy's super weird. And I'm not going to lie. There was a few of them where I was just like, I don't feel like fucking doing this.
Yep.
It's just like, fuck. But like, once we got there and we were doing it, it felt fine. It's just like, but it did take that extra effort and extra work. And I think that the bands that did anything close to that, just streaming from their phone even, I think the fans are going to remember that. And then they're going to remember the bands that didn't necessarily do anything.
Totally.
And I just feel like you can't go out and make money and get your fans, you live a career. You can't live this career without your fans. Like, they're the reason why you're able to do these things. And if you're going to go do that, when shit hits the fan, like, you better be there for them, when we can't go out and do this.
Totally.
So think of something, that's just, there's definitely a better way for me to say that. I hope people understand that, but
no, but you're 100% right. No, I completely agree with what you're saying. And you guys were like kind of an inspiration to do that stuff too. We had been doing some random like little acoustic things, which I think those hold so much value too. Like you're saying, like on your phone, my manager constantly gets on me about that. She's like, dude, just jump on a live every once in a while. And like, I'm the constant overthinker, and just like, well, I want to be able to do this, and I want to be able to do that. I want the production to be badass. And then I do it, dude. And I just sit in my living room with my phone on my coffee table, my dog sitting next to me. My fiance is like literally 2 feet away from me on her phone, kind of half paying attention and like watching me be an idiot, and she's like laughing at my interaction as like the most awkward person in the world. But it's just fun, and you get to like, whether there's 20 fans there, 100 fans there, like people are there, and like there's a good interaction there. And every time before I do it, I'm just like nervous and like, I hope I don't fuck these songs up. And by yourself, like for me too, like I'm used to having Hunter as my lead guitarist with me, or having Dave there to sing vocals and jam some drums, or like, Adam on the bass. Like for me, it's daunting to do shit by myself, but you always, after like, you go live, and then at the very end of it, you shut it down and you're like, fuck, that was fun. Why am I not doing that more often? Right. And like,
same,
and
bro.
we did one like full production, full live stream. We were lucky enough. The observatory in Orange County let us come in on a totally, dark year. They let us come in and set up lights and set up sound, and we ran it. We had a dope camera crew, and everybody, it was so cool. Like you're talking about, like super fucking weird. Beforehand, you're like, how the hell? What? I've played to a lot of shows with like 2 people at it, so I know how to try and generate energy. But it's just a weird concept when it's cameras, right? And you're like, don't necessarily. I had a prompt like screen set up like just in front of my microphone, so I could kind of try and interact with comments or whatever. And it's like it's adapt or die kind of shit, dude. And like we're lucky enough to now like be able to come back to touring, but I think like what happened in this last year, it's not going to go away. It was like an experience that we all had together, and hopefully we can pull some cool shit out of it. Like you're saying, like the interaction, like maybe we don't have to fucking tour 250 days out of the year to make a real connection with our fans and our friends and these people across the country or internationally, wherever you tour. Like we can still make these connections and do it in a cool way. And, yeah, it was dope, man. You guys definitely set the standard, and it was cool. I mean, like I remember seeing people just jumping on Facebook Lives, man, and just like, oh shit, come across that. I'd watch for, maybe I didn't have an hour to sit down and watch, but it's just like you just want to interact, a little bit, and yeah. Anyways,
absolutely, man. As I said, shout out to any band that did anything. The fans appreciate it. They appreciate the shit, man. And just as you were saying a couple minutes ago, like, yeah, it's like, you start getting in your head, you're like, oh, I want it to look like this. I want it to be dope. I want people to love it. I want to like the, production and all that. And it's like, you don't need that. You really don't. It's just doing anything, doing something. And there's something charming about you sitting on the couch with your dog and your fiance and just singing songs. And you're just bare, it's just you, it's just you and the acoustic. There's something charming about that. And, whether you're taking donations or whatever, or just doing it just to do it, just engaging with the comments. I just feel like we're in such a, the pandemic really showed how important it is to connect with, it's not just about the music anymore. The music is what brings people to you, but they want to know who you are. They want to know about you and get in your head a little bit. And the best way to do that is to set up, go live on your phone, just talk, and just engage with the people in the chat, and be consistent. And if you can do that on a weekly basis, it's something that can really help build it out. And I think no matter what you do, because people know you and they love you, they're going to follow you wherever you go. If I decide that I'm going to write a book, I'll probably sell 100 copies on release day, because I know that there's at least a solid 100 people that follow me, in everything I do, they'll buy it just because they want to support, and you can't thank people enough for that, for giving you your career. Yeah. So that's why I say props to any band that did anything, because you did more than was expected.
Truly. Yeah, man, I completely agree. And, I would buy your book. No, but it's really like that. And like, you couldn't have said it better, man. Like, we're lucky. We're lucky to be here. And like, luckily we made music and we're still making music. We continue to make music and hopefully we can grow that, and I sometimes I'll like, I have conversations with the band or with our manager sometimes. And it's like, you can there's a lot of reasons, entertainment in general, no matter what kind of art you're pursuing, like when you're pursuing a passion as a career, like it's unlike anything else, like we're not waking up, doing the 9 to 5, coming home, enjoying time with our loved ones, going back to work the next day. Like there's so many hurdles, like mentally and physically, like, and it can get easy to get down sometimes. It's like, oh, why didn't we get an offer for this, or why aren't we on this festival? And like at the end of the day, you just have to be able to like look at your network and the people that you're able to engage with on a day-to-day basis. And that's like the most humbling part of it for me is like, I know people across the country because of touring, whether it's friends, fans, family members that I would not know because they live so far away, or just like bands, bro. Like some of my closest friends are people in bands, and to be able to just like reach out and shoot a text like, hey man, sick single, or like, hey dude, this is sounding dope, or like all of this came together because of music for us. And like you're saying, like the music is the vehicle that gets people there, right? But like now at the end, like we have to be so much more engaging, and like you said before, like you got to just love it. And if you don't love it, it shows, and it shows in your work, and it shows in your work ethic or whatever. And like, yeah, man, you're talking about brevity. I've been talking for like 5 minutes now, and I'm losing my train of thought. No, but it's
It's all the time.
I feel like just feel like this is you touched on something that's like so real, and like so many people maybe don't understand it, and so many people do understand it. But we're lucky to do what we do, and it's cool to see people pushing the envelope and coming up with new and interesting ideas and ways to engage with people. And then on the flip side of that, I can't fucking wait to play shows again, dude. We're so close. I know you guys have been crushing it the last like couple months. California was a little slower to get on the train, but we finally have a show this week, our first time since One Love 2020, playing in front of a crowd. And as much as what you're saying is so valid and so true and so crucial now, there's just going to be something great about having people in front of us again. That's going to be a fun time.
I'd say it's a great feeling, dude. Like to play in front of people.
Yeah.
And that everybody wants it. They want to be there. They're so happy to be there. We did 5 shows over the last 2 weeks, and like, it was incredible.
They look
all
packed.
of them. They were stupid packed. Like most of them were sold out. And it was ridiculous. And it just felt great. So is this going to be like your like a release party as well?
Kind of. So we actually had set up an idea that I'm not really going to talk about too much because we're still going to pursue it at a different time. But we had set up kind of like a release party where we wanted to do a show and like a live listening, like just have. I wanted it to be just like, it wasn't even at like a traditional venue. It was a place with a stage, and we wanted people to come, and we didn't want to charge money. I didn't want like to make it a quote unquote like official show. I just wanted it to be a bunch of my friends, anybody who lives within this certain area, or if you want to drive from wherever you live, come hang. And then this festival kind of came across the line, and we were like, we should probably play this festival. Fortunate Youth, Expendables, like Arise Roots, iMac. Like it's gonna be just a sick, like lineup to be a part of. So we kind of pushed that idea, and I still want to do that. At some point, it's going to be fun to do. But yes, the longest answer to your question is that this is basically going to be like our kind of little like. It's not our show. It's not just us, but we're going to treat it as like, hey man, like our new record came out yesterday, and cool. We're going to play some of the new shit and some of the old shit and just have fun, vibe with some real people in a real setting again. And it's supposed to be like 95 degrees too. So love an outdoor festival in the 90s.
Yeah, dude. Seriously. I know. We played outside on most of these, and dude, the one night it was just hot and gross, but it felt great. It felt great to play a hot, gross, sticky show.
I miss those East Coast
outside.
Sticky summers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, hope to have you back sooner than later, my man.
Yes, sir, man. We will be back at it.
That's great, brother. So, all right, the new record drops this Friday on the 25th. What's it called?
Million Pieces.
Million Pieces.
Yeah, the title track, Million Pieces, was the first single we put out in January, and I kind of felt like it just kind of embodied the vibe we wanted to go for, like lyrically and sonically. So Million Pieces, full length, 11-track record, Friday, June 25th, and shows to follow.
Hell yeah, man. Well, congrats on the reintroduction, and so glad you're putting out music still. Yeah, everything I've heard so far, just the few singles, this sounds great. And as I said earlier, they have a more grown up sound to them, if that makes sense to anybody. But yeah, go grab Pacific Dub's new record on Friday. Do you got a pre-save link or anything?
No, man, we're just dropping it Friday. So I'm so sorry. Yeah, the pre-save. There's no pre-order. We have a pre-save. Just check out the link in any of our social media bios at Pacific Dub. Anywhere you can find music, we're gonna be there under that name. And yeah, just Friday, dropping it.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I'll drop the link in the description here so people can check it out.
Thank you.
But, dude, Colton, it was great to have you, man. It's been a minute.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having us, dude. I appreciate it. You've been so good to us over the years, and I love playing shows with you guys and being able to chat whenever we can. So thank you for having me on the pod. I'm a big fan, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, man. Well, we will talk soon, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. I'll see you soon, man.
All right, bro.